So there have been a lot of exciting new updates with CodeSpells the last few days. The rune editor is now inside the game, and there are a lot of new runes to play with. And if you check out the blog, you can see a bunch of cool videos where Steven shows off using these new runes. We have runes for like forward, backwards, left, right, up and down. We have runes for warping. We have runes for building and digging. We have runes for Boolean logic, so like that'll be really fun to play with. And we also have a rune for changing worlds, so you can move from one world to a new world. I know the community's really antsy to get their hands on this prototype version of CodeSpells that Steven's been working on. So today I wanted to talk to Steven about this new prototype he's been working on and when we might be able to get it out to the CodeSpells community. So let's go to Steven. So Steven, I know that the community is super eager to get their hands on the prototype version of the game and the authoring tools that you've been working on for the last few weeks. Have you thought about how far off you are from releasing that and whether there's more work to be done before you release?
So, yeah, it's also top priority for me to get some kind of releasable build out there, because the more like interesting stuff I put in there, the more I'm like, oh, what if it doesn't build out in the way that I expect it to? So I need to kind of do that build just to make sure there's not some piece of technology in there that's gonna make it that I'm gonna have to take out later, you know. So for that reason, and obviously because I want to give the community what they're expecting out of this project, which is something they can feel and touch.
Yeah.
I do want to get something out. So I was hoping to at least do a test build before the end of this week. That's not a release. It's just make sure everything's building. And then probably, I mean, my goal is not by next week's Friday, but the Friday after that, to have something out there that some people can use. Probably won't work for Mac. It probably won't work for Linux. It's the first release, but I'm hoping to have at least a Windows build and release something that works. You know, if it works on my computer, it should work on someone else's computer.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Is it hard sometimes to get things to work on like Mac and Linux?
I mean, in theory, that's what Unreal tries to make easy for you, and it, you know, and Unity wasn't that hard, but I just haven't done it before. I don't know if I need to actually go use a Mac and set the project up on a Mac in order to build it smoothly. I did try to build on Windows a few weeks ago, and it worked, but it was not as smooth as I would expect a game engine to make things. But I'm sure it's surmountable. Just need to fiddle with things.
So you're thinking not this Friday, but maybe next Friday, having something for people.
The Friday after that.
The Friday after that. Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah.
Maybe about 3 weeks away.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like I hope it'll be sooner than that. It's just I'm padding an extra week or two in case there's some kind of like really difficult tech issue that prevents me from building. So.
Okay, and do you think the release at that point is going to be like something that's moddable that the community can start messing with, like adding new runes or adding new kinds of spells?
Yeah, adding new runes for sure, because that's you know, and all of that's already out there. It's already open source. You could add new runes and put them on a website right now. I don't blame anyone if they haven't done that, because it's not very fun if it's not in game. But yeah, I mean, I'm using those tools right now. They work on Windows, and they work on Linux, and they work on Mac. So those are kind of the most robust pieces of technology in this whole thing.
That's awesome. So people can start hacking on CodeSpells a little bit pretty soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah. Have you thought about what the release process will look like for patrons? So like, how do they get access to it? What's the download process, installation process?
Well, yes, a little bit. So since I want the game to be moddable from the beginning, from the ground up, I think I'm going to release it as a package, a Racket package, which, you know, I know many people haven't used Racket, but if you can imagine like a Python package where you start up a file and you write import CodeSpells. It's just like that. So installing that package within the Racket programming language should get you access to the 3D client, and you should be able to run it with a single line of code. And that interface of running the game with a line of code, that's your hook into modding, because if you don't just run it with one line of code, you do some configuration beforehand. Maybe you swap in a new interface, or you swap in some new runes or some new dynamic content, all in the context of some programming language and set of APIs that we'll be releasing with CodeSpells.
So they'll be able to do the modding kind of inside the Racket editor, Dr. Racket.
Yeah, or any text editor they want. It doesn't matter.
Okay, cool. That's really exciting.
Sculpting the terrain looks pretty cool, but I want there to be particles, basically.
Or missing particles.
Yeah, missing particles, exactly. And so today I was actually working on that. It's not super interesting. You can only spawn one particle, but if you look where this lands...
hey, there's a particle.
Yeah, there's a particle. I'm going to spam that and make a bunch of little particles.
Yeah.
So I definitely have the ability to spawn a particle, and I'd like to give people runes to be able to customize what the particle looks like.
Yeah, the effects.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
To make people feel like they're wizards, their spells need to look like real magic spells.
Yeah. Yeah, and particles are kind of
Yeah.
part of that for sure.
Yeah, it's like the artistic part of being a wizard is the flair of your magic.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's going to be something you're working on in the next couple of weeks before we have the build release.
Yeah, or at least doing a proof of concept so I know that it's possible and that I basically sometimes I do the work way before it's going to end up in any kind of release, just so that we can honestly tell people it will be there. If
if it's not in the releases 3 weeks from now.
Yeah,
it's in the pipeline.
Because I don't want to get into a situation where we promise something's going to be there, but then it turns out to be just impossible to implement. So let's do this kind of research and development process where I make sure that whatever I'm envisioning is technologically feasible. Clearly, it's possible to spawn a kind of particle. I'm sure it'd be possible to spawn many others now, just because that proof of concept's there.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, what I'd like to have for the first release is a voxel world or two that just no work. They boot up in the client. An initial set of runes for building and digging, just with a sphere shape for now. Add more later. I think we'll have this world, which I've been working on, looks nice, and then I might have just a proof of concept of some other world, like this purple glass world that I actually put in my blog post today.
Yeah.
So let me do that, and we'll leave those particles behind, and we should load into the new world. So this one's a different voxel terrain, uses a different terrain generator, and obviously
shiny.
The textures are completely different. It kind of feels like you're in a world full of, I don't know, cooled glass or something like that. The lighting is different, you can sort of tell the cloak is a different color.
Yeah.
But all the spells still work, so even in here, you can pull up your rune interface and have access to the same things. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So way to teleport, way to change the location of your spells, way to switch to at least one other world,
the
ability to dig, the ability to build, and then a few logical constructs will be in there.
Booleans and
Yeah, exactly. But I'll probably organize it a little better than this. It's getting... when there are only 2 or 3 runes, this toolbar worked pretty well, but
it's getting big.
Yeah, now I have to scroll around, and so that's gonna have to change. It's gonna have to evolve as there are more and more runes, and that's probably one of the more important things to be moddable, because whatever your tool set of runes are that you like to use as a wizard, you're gonna want to organize in a particular way for yourself.
That's true.
Or to give to your wizard followers, students. So I need to do some organization on that, but but that's just UI stuff. Yeah. So the ability to configure or build in voxel worlds, switch between a couple of them. Oh, and some sort of particles.
Okay, that's awesome. I mean, this sounds like a fun prototype to start working with for sure. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and the whole thing's in a pretty good state for like adding new runes and new content. So I expect after we do that release, we'll be able to start pushing new stuff out to it. And initially, I mean, it's kind of up to you and the rest of the community, but I think we should just release it just to the patrons to start with, sort of like as a, just to say thank you for supporting us.
Yeah, for supporting. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense for sure for patrons to get access to it first, and then. Yeah, and then we can always have a release that's like available to everyone as well, but like patrons maybe get it for 2 weeks earlier or something. Yeah. I think that would make sense.
Yeah, and I'd like to always have some secret set of runes that is only accessible to patrons or something like that.
Exciting!
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
So that's really exciting. It sounds like we're going to have access to a build within the next 3 weeks. And who knows, maybe he'll get done with it a little bit sooner than that. It'd be fun to start messing with the prototype version, though. So this is my cat. Her name's Kitty. She's part of the CodeSpells team now, whether she likes it or not. So this is exciting. We should have access to a build of CodeSpells really soon.